And good evening, Commanders, and welcome to episode 4, 3, I'm not quite sure. I think it might be 3 or 4. Anyway, we're here for the Astro tour, so lovely to have you all along. Fantastic to see you. And I remember the green screen I have. We are in the universe and we are travelling through space, which is always a good thing. Always a good thing for Elite Dangerous, because that's what it's all about, space and spaceships. And we're continuing the tour of space. This is a combined tour of kind of Elite Dangerous as well. It gives a chance for us commanders to all hang around in space together, which is always fun. But to indulge myself really in a bit of my first love, even before computer games, which is astronomy. So and hopefully you'll learn a little bit about space and stuff as we go along. So anyway, fantastic to have you all on the stream once more, and lovely to be here on Thursdays once again. So it's always good. So yeah, I'm glad you like the intro, by the way. That is, of course, is not Elite Dangerous. For those of you who haven't seen it, that is generated with a rather interesting program called Space Engine, and if you haven't got that, you can get it on Steam. It's relatively cheap, and it sort of straddles the line between game and simulation. It's a bit of both. It isn't really a game, but it is a fantastic piece of software, and it allows you to travel anywhere in a procedurally generated universe in a similar manner to Elite Dangerous, actually, in many ways, but without all that tedious mucking about in hyperspace, as you know, you might might have heard from the late great Douglas Adams. So you can travel anywhere in the universe. You just literally can click on a star and just press G, and it allows you to travel there. But it does have procedural generation. It does atmospheres and planets and stars and rings and all the sorts of stuff that you'd expect from a space simulation, and dare I say it, with slightly more astronomical accuracy in some cases than Elite Dangerous currently manages. So Elite Dangerous is obviously improving all the time, and we are looking forward to seeing what Odyssey brings, but Space Engine is worthy of checking out if you like space and astronomy and stuff. Literally you can click on anywhere in space and just travel there instantly in Space Engine. Plus you can speed up and slow down time and things like that, kind of planetarium style, which is all good fun. So definitely worth checking out if you like space and stuff. And there's even some spacecraft in there that you can sort of fly around. But there's no game per se. There's nothing specific to do. Whilst Elite Dangerous is, kind of blaze your own trail, in Space Engines it's kind of like there's no trail there at all. So you can just do whatever the hell you like. But it is good. It is good fun. It is good fun. So definitely worth checking out. So anyway, lovely to see you all. Lovely to see you all. So yes, we're doing Summer Stars now, and as Commander Kelvin has already pointed out, hang on, this is already winter. But I have to, I've got to compress all of my favourite things in space that I can see from the Earth into a tour of stuff in Elite Dangerous, which I always intended to do actually when the game first came out, but I never managed to get around to doing this. So I'm sort of vicariously doing it with you folks along for the ride. So I hope you don't mind. So yes, we are currently in the Alpha Cygni system, so it is a little bit of a way out. So yes, for those of you who got to get here on the way, it's a little bit away out of the core world. Deneb, where we're starting, is a very bright star in the skies of Earth, but it's quite a long way out actually, compared to some of the destinations we've been dealing with recently. The Stars of the Plough that we did last week are much closer to the Earth than Deneb is. Deneb is a fantastically bright and powerful star, as we'll see as we go through. But first off, we need to get into space, so we need to do some stuff. Now I'm actually parked at the moment on the surface of Alpha Cygni 2. I keep wanting to say Alpha Ceti 5. But you don't want to go there, okay? That's a very dangerous place to go. Don't go to Alpha Ceti 5, okay? And don't be tempted to put a little worm-like thing in your ear. That just bad things happen if you do that. Okay, don't go to Alpha Ceti 5. Go to Alpha Cygni 2. And for those of you who's not getting the reference there, you're going to have to gen up, okay, on your Star Trek. So nothing to do with Elite Dangerous, I hasten to add. But there are some fleet carriers here. Alex, yes, you're quite right. The Botany Bay. So yes. But there are some fleet carriers. So some fleet carriers have joined me in the Deneb star system. Now, confusingly, in Elite Dangerous, the Deneb star system is not called Deneb. Okay, if you go to Deneb in Elite Dangerous, you'll go to the wrong place. Okay, there is another star called Deneb, which is actually an interesting star, which we will talk about, but is not the right place. And if you type Deneb in, there's lots of other stars with Deneb in the title, all of which are wrong. Okay. Quite why in Elite Dangerous Deneb itself is not marked as Deneb is a mystery that probably won't get answered. But Deneb, any version of Deneb in Elite Dangerous is the wrong place. You actually need to search for Alpha Cygni. Okay, Commander Terekhov, sorry, Commander Chekhov. Actually, that's a Freudian slip. So yeah, fish in ear is okay. Eel, a wormy eel thing in ear is bad. All right, that's just good science fiction background. Okay, so there's 5 different star systems in Elite Dangerous with Deneb in them, and they're all the wrong place. I don't know why. Okay, so you're looking for Alpha Cygni. Alpha Cygni is the right place. Okay, so Alpha Cygni here is how you spell it in Elite Dangerous. That's where we actually need to be, and I'll show you why. Why are we here? Okay, why are we here? Now there are some fleet carriers in orbit. Now whilst the wonderful Absolution has been the fleet carrier of choice, it's only fair of me to choose some others there. There are 4 here already. The Tanilorn, the Red Dwarf, which is an awesome name, Wimbledon Common, and the Amadare, or Amadare, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it. Now, I was going to, for this evening, I think it's only right, being British, that we should choose the Wimbledon Common. Okay, so I'm going to suggest that we use the Wimbledon Common as our first point of rendezvous this evening. So if you're in the area and you're heading this way, or you're at Alpha Cygni, Deneb, then Wimbledon Common, we will rendezvous there first. Okay, so head for the Wimbledon Common, and we'll go there in the first instance. Now I'm actually on the surface, so I'm going to fly up into space. Before I do that, why are we in Deneb at all? We are wombling free tonight. We are indeed the Wombles of Wimbledon. In Deneb are we? I said, actually, to be honest, I have prepared obviously a MIDI file for this evening as per request last week, but I've decided actually that we will choose the Wimbledon Common at some point onwards in the Astro tour, and I'm going to do a MIDI rendition of the Wombles theme tune just because. Which actually is quite a challenge, because unlike most science fiction theme tunes, and I'm thinking of things like Battlestar Galactica and Star Wars and things like that, they're relatively simple tunes. Okay, so most science fiction, just so you know, just from a musical perspective, totally off topic, I'm afraid straight away. Most science fiction theme tunes are done in what are called major fifths. Okay, so Star Wars is dun, 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 dun. Okay, that's a major fifth. Battlestar Galactica, bom, 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 major fifth. Okay, major fifths are always in particularly 80s and 90s science fiction. Okay, it's just one of those things. Now, the Womble theme tune, however, as you're probably aware, is not a science fiction theme tune. And the Womble theme tune is actually, believe it or not, quite a complicated piece of music. You may not have gone, oh yeah, Womble's definitive piece of complicated music, but you'll be surprised actually how tricky it is. I haven't actually learned to play it, so I'm setting myself a little bit of an ask here, but I do intend to do the Womble's theme tune as a MIDI file. See if I can do it at some point in the future. So stay tuned for that. That's definitely something to look out for. So anyway, Wimbledon Common as well will be heading. But anyway, why are we in Deneb? The reason we're in Deneb is as follows. Okay, here is. Once my screen reloads, there we go. Here's a view of space from the Earth. Okay. So Mike Batt is the composer of the Womble theme tune, and it's, he's done a lot of proper serious music as well. But the Womble theme tune, I mean, you're going to have to go on YouTube if you're not familiar with the Wombles at all. Which, if you're not from the UK, from Great Britain, you may not be. You may, what on earth is he talking about? Just Google Womble's theme tune, primary theme tune, okay, and try and, you know, I know it's a kids show, and I know it's got these wacky kind of little sort of, I don't know what they are really, wombles. How do you describe a womble? But it's kind of like a small creature that lives on Wimbledon Common in the UK and tidies up things. You had to be there really to understand it, but listen to the Womble theme tune, and if you're a musician, you will understand what I mean. It's an amazingly complicated piece of music. Anyway, so I won't spoil it anymore until I do the MIDI rendition. Then I really will spoil it. See if you can appreciate, just for the musical excellence that it is. Mike Batt was a seriously... is he still alive, actually? I haven't questioned. Hopefully he is. But anyway, an amazing composer. So anyway, we are. This is a view from the Earth, and as you can see, I'm just going to zoom in a bit. This is actually what it looks like from my house, and actually it is actually clear tonight. So we could have popped outside and had a look, but this is looking south from my house. You can see the Moon, Jupiter, and Saturn are low in the sky in the southwest, but up here, this configuration of stars here against the Milky Way background, as you can see, is known in the UK and in other places in the Northern Hemisphere as the Summer Triangle. It's not actually an official constellation, okay? So the Summer Triangle will not appear on any proper charts. It's amazing that Frontier Modelio has that. I know, thank you. And look, planetary landings, look. Not really then. But this configuration of stars here is known as the Summer Triangle. Okay, and it's very, very clearly visible from Earth. And if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, throughout summer, it's kind of unmistakable. If you look up, the moment it goes dark in the summer, which obviously is quite late at night in the summer, you will see the Summer Triangle, all right? And that's the main triangle is composed of Deneb, Vega, and Altair. And these are places that are on our list of destinations tonight. Now, I've started at Deneb because we're going to have to work our way back, all right? Deneb is actually quite a long way out. And it shows you how an amazing star it actually is, because let me click on Vega for a moment. Vega is actually the brightest of the three from Earth's perspective, all right? And you can see it's magnitude 0. Now, magnitude is a really weird scientific scale that as the number gets higher, the thing gets dimmer. I don't know why. Okay, and minus values are even brighter than 0, and then about 6 is where it drops into invisibility from human eyesight. So if it's magnitude 6, you can barely see it. Magnitude 0 is therefore quite bright, and something like the Moon apparently is about minus 15 magnitude. So it's a strange scale, which one of these days I'm going to learn exactly how it's calculated, but I haven't done so yet, so I can't explain it to you guys. But Vega, as you can see, is where's the actual distance? Lots of information here, and I can't see the distance. There we go. Distance 25 light years plus or minus 0.07. Okay, that's the estimated distance to Vega. So quite a bright star. Altair, by comparison, a little bit fainter in the sky, but only 16 light years away. Okay, only 16 light years away. But Deneb, which is shining in Earth's sky, of a comparable brightness, is, as you can see here, 1,400 light years away, 1,400 light years away, and yet in our skies at Earth, it's still extremely bright, and that's because it's a massive star, way brighter than Vega and Altair in real terms, but much further away. So these two, Vega and Altair, from Earth are pretty close by, not very far away from us. But Deneb is much further away. So in order to do the Summer Triangle from an Astro tour perspective, I've gone to Deneb first, and then we'll work our way back to do the other ones to make sure that we've covered this particular constellation. Now, somebody asked where it is in relation to the Dipper. Okay, so it is. So the Summer Triangle is generally facing south. Okay, most of the time that you see it. The Big Dipper, or the Great Bear, or the Plough, as we tend to call it in the UK, is always due north. So it's almost in the exact opposite part of the sky. So we were tooling around here last week on the stream. We did the tour of the Plough. This time we are over here, and we're now almost exactly in the opposite part of the sky as far as Earth is concerned. So that's where we're actually are right now. Well, that's at least where I am. That's where I'm hoping we'll all rendezvous to start with. So we're gonna be in the Deneb system now. this is 3 constellations that we're going to be buzzing around tonight. Let me just explain what they are. So here's the constellation art. So Deneb is the primary constellation in the constellation of Cygnus. Cygnus is the swan in Greek, and you can see how the Greeks, who are clearly on something, you can see us waving from Deneb. There we go. Yay! They saw animals and weird things in the sky. I mean, that's just what they did. You know, I don't quite know why, but there we go. And Deneb is a sort of cross shape in the sky. Sorry, Cygnus is a sort of cross shape in the sky. Vega is in the constellation of Lyra, and it is a lyre, which is like not a lyre as somebody who doesn't tell the truth, but a musical instrument called a lyre, which is sort of a small harp. You may have seen these in some sort of Greek shows and things like that. Not a common instrument today, but it still exists. And then Altair is in the constellation of Aquila, which is an eagle. Okay, and that's basically where that sort of thing is. Now there are a few interesting stars around here, which we're going to cover on the way. So, but let's get that's where we're going tonight. Okay, that constellation sequence and the summer triangle composed of these 3 constellations here. That's where we're going to be hanging out for the time being. So let me shut that down because we don't need that anymore. I'm on the surface, so I better get into orbit, and we'll rendezvous at Wimbledon Common first. Meet the wombles of space. So there we go. Looks like actually somebody's managed to park nearby, so which is quite cool. So let's get off this rock. Oh, I've been playing Flight Simulator again, so I better ensure that my throttle is properly set. So as per usual, the planet is obscured by the destination is obscured by the planet. That happens, it should only happen 50% of the time, but in my experience it happens 90% of the time. This is one of those things. Right, let's get the frame shift drive doing its thing, and we'll rendezvous for Wimbledon Common for those of you who are there. Now it's a little bit of a trek back, I'm afraid, but we have, what I wanted to do with the Astro Tour is actually go to some of those places. Now there is always a tendency to think of the constellations that we see in the night sky as flat pictograms. Okay, they are. We tend to draw them as line drawings in the sky, and of course they really aren't like that at all. Stars are in a 3-dimensional configuration in space, and as you can see, Vega and Altair in the summer triangle are. And you can pop out there this evening and go and see them. That's what's cool about this, because it's really there. But Deneb is so much further away, like over 100 times further away than the other 2, and a totally different type of star. And so here's the Wimbledon Common, and I do appreciate all the owners of the fleet carriers trogging around the galaxy as they do to kind of accompany me on my tours. It's nice to have these great big ships around, and they're fantastic rendezvous points for commanders as well. So with a bit of luck, people will drop into instances and all those sort of things. Now, interesting enough, in Elite Dangerous, I was quite surprised with this when I was doing the research for this. The Deneb system is totally uninhabited. There's nothing here, which seems a bit surprising in some ways, because you've got a massive amount of free energy from this enormous star. But there isn't much in the way of planetary systems here in terms of what Elite Dangerous has done. There's a metal-rich body and there's a landable metal-rich body. 2 fairly ordinary planets, and that's it. There's nothing else here. Oh, I've just done a loop of shame while I was looking at the system map. Let me fly around once more. Let's get that right. So there we are, the Wimbledon Common, which is always good to see. So I don't know if that's departing back to the in the general direction of the core worlds, but that's where we're going to be. So hopefully a few of you will be here. It's always nice to see people. Commander Sea Dweller is here, I can see. There are a few other ships. Yeah, actually there's a few people here, which is always good. So let's just have a quick rendezvous in orbit up here. and we'll see if we can orientate ourselves to have a look at the star at the same time, because we're relatively close actually. So look at that. I mean, there is the. I'm just going to throttle down, adjust my attitude down a little bit. So we've got the fleet carrier and the star and the planet in the shot, because that's quite nice. There we go. Let's see if I can throttle back to see if I've got. There we go. Yay, 0. Okay, so there's quite a few people in the instance, which is always nice to see. Let's just turn that. I'll get a few screenies there. There's the fleet carrier, there's the planet, and there's the star. And you can see I don't know how far away we are from the star at the moment. But it's a massive, massive, massive star. It really is big. That's why it's so bright in our skies, despite being 1,000 light years, 1,400 light years. It looks, it is amazing. And yeah, the Wimbledon Common Fleet Carrier looks very nice, resplendent in green. That's always good to see. So lovely to see a few of you in the instance here. That's really nice. So that seems to be working a little bit more happier this evening than it was last week. So that's good. And a few people firing chaff, and why not? So anyway, so Deneb, a really bright star in our sky, very, very recognisable. One of the brightest stars in the sky, actually, from our perspective, and you can see why. It's just ridiculously, massively powerful. And as I mentioned last week, these stars don't last very long. Okay, they're incredibly, incredibly hot, way hotter than our sun, and they're much, much more massive. The pressures in them are much, much more immense. And they burn through their nuclear fuel way, way, way faster than stars like our sun do. So Deneb won't be around that long in stellar terms. I mean, it'll outlive the human race almost certainly, but massive amounts of heat and energy and ultraviolet and all sorts of stuff being chucked out by this star. Quite a powerhouse. So you may have noticed that if you jumped in here, that it was a really, really big star to kind of orbit around when you were fuel scooping, and that's correct. It's an enormous, enormous star, but really, really hot as well. So, quite a beast of a star compared to our sun. Who knows really what planets are around it, but it's quite a sight. So I'm kind of glad I've got here actually, because I've never been here before at Elite Dangerous, so it's nice to have got to Deneb. Now, there are some other bits and pieces. My list of places to go. Now, I do want to go around the other two. Okay, so I'm just going to double check a few things in terms of distances. So I don't want to lead you all up the garden path, in which case we're going to go in the wrong way. So let me just always get F3. Let me just have a look on the galaxy map. So I want to check how far away we are from some of the other places that I need to get to. 4 Ipsilon. There's 1 Lyrae is the other one. There we go. That should be way back towards the core worlds. So, yep, that one's there. Okay. And Myra is the other one. Okay, so this one's interesting enough, a little bit off and down there. Yep, good. And the other one I need is Alberio, which is a very cool star. Okay, so that one's kind of on the way home actually. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to head for Alberio first. I'm going to break the order up slightly because it's kind of on the way back. So I can see quite a few of you scattered around heading in our direction. So if you haven't reached Alpha Cygni yet, you can either go there and charge around, but we're actually going to be heading for Alberio next. So that is where I want you to go as part of this tour. Now, in terms of exactly where Alberio is in the sky, let me show you again. Let's quickly pop back to Stellarium, and I will. Yes, I should bookmark them. Yes, that's a very, very good suggestion. I should do that in the future. Now, Alberio is. Let me just find it on here. Why is that not showing up? Oh, it's because I'm spelling it wrong. There we go. Now, Alberio is actually at the other end of the constellation. So let me just switch the constellation lines on for a moment. There we go. We're here, and we're going to go down to here, okay? And I'll explain why when we get there. So we're basically going to draw this line in Elite Dangerous. Okay, we're going to go down the length of the Cygnus constellation to Alberio. Now Alberio is a bit closer to home than Deneb is, so that's where we're going to go next. So Alberio is where we need to head. It's a fair old way. So that's the only problem with space. It's big. Okay, so Alberio is Alberio. There we go in the stream chat. So that's where we're going to head, and hopefully you've got, like I said, you need kind of an exploration ship for for these kind of things. So my ship is a 60 light year system, so we're going to have a little bit of a race to get to Alberio. How many jumps is it in my ship? It's 18 jumps, so it's going to take us a little while to get there. And we can chat about various bits and pieces on the way as well. So head to Alberio, my friends, and we will rendezvous there. And hopefully someone in the instance will be able to carry along. There are 2 neutrons on the way. Okay, we'll keep an eye out for that. I've actually got a space in my wing if anybody wants to try and keep up. So let me just sort that out. So who shall I add in? Who haven't I seen before? There's only a few local people, so let's have a look, see who's here. Commander Russian Man. Anna Claire I've definitely seen before. Commander Y2K. Commander Mintopia. 44 light years away. Well, I'm going to invite you randomly from a link there. So if you want to join me in my wing, I have a space. Let's see. So off we go. Let's get the ship on the road. So right, we are heading for Alberio. Drawing a line down the constellation of Cygnus. And it just shows you, even with 34th century technology like we have in Elite Dangerous and massive jump ranges, okay, it still takes us a while to travel around even the local constellations. So you now got to imagine people in the night sky on Earth looking at Deneb and looking at Alberio, and imagining all these spaceships doing little jumps across that distance. And obviously don't forget to do your honk as you travel through the systems. Don't forget to do your honk, because you'll get some credits for doing that on the way home. So I'll see how many of you can keep up with my Crate Phantom. And we'll travel through space. So while we're doing this bit will take a little bit of time. This is probably the longest haul in the game, but one of the things that we'll get as we get further into the Astro tour is a bit of travelling, okay? Because it is some of the distances we're going to be you'll only wake the Reapers, yeah. Watch out for that. Some of the distances we're increasingly going to be travelling are going to be bigger and bigger and bigger, and some of the later parts of the Astro Tour are going to be longer hauls. In fact, the last episode of the Astro Tour will take us almost all the way to Colonia. Okay, so do be prepared for that. These first few trips have been relatively lightweight. Okay, just kind of warm-ups. In order to get us to the final destination. But the further we get into the tour, the further we're going to have to jump around, and there will be some flying stuff. And I'll give you as much notice as I can as to where we're rendezvousing, because some of the distances are a bit interesting. Because unfortunately, because of space, space is big, right? You may think it's a long way down the street to the chemist, but that's just peanuts to space, and so on. Again, Douglas Adams knew all this beforehand, which is just good fun. So, even with these massive jump ranges, it does bring back the fact that space really is enormously large. And this I say is my exploration crate Phantom, which is set up for long haul exploration travel. And it still takes you a while to get around. Okay, it still takes you a while to get around. So, what about Elite Dangerous then? What's been going on? Okay, what's been going on? So we understand the Thargoids have been up to something in the Witchhead Nebula. I was going to have a quick look at Galnet actually, because I haven't read it this week. Just sort of see what's happening there. So I'll take a little bit of a brief stop. But I want to get the distance out the way. So feel free to let me know what's been going on in the chat, because that will save me some time. It is nice that the story is ongoing. That's sort of really I've been delighted that that's come back. It's really good. Nice to see that the story is continuing because it just makes the universe feel like there's something going on. And a fun week shooting down Goids, excellent. And we chased them off. Okay, so that's good news. Okay, that's good news. Now there are, the lore of the Thargoids is interesting for those of you who don't know the background. And most of you probably will do by now. But our contact with the Thargoids is not your kind of classic. Here come the baddies. Okay, now unfortunately in the game you don't have many ways of interacting with the Thargoids other than blasting them. In fact, we really don't. We can sort of feed them canisters, can't we? and they don't like Guardian tech if you bring it close to them. That gets them all a bit agitated. But if you look back in the history of the lore of Elite Dangerous with regard to the Thargoids, of course, you'll discover that it seems like we were the first aggressors. And it was us who, 45 planetary bodies, it was us who fired the first shots. Against the Thargoids, and it was very much like you remember. You've probably seen the film of Babylon 5, how the Earth Minbari War started, and due to a difference in culture, that conflict started. And if you know Babylon 5, we almost got completely wiped out before they scanned one of our guys and discerned that actually he was something special to them. So if you've not watched Babylon 5, it is quite old school nowadays, and you may kind of wince a bit at the special effects because allegedly, and I'm not sure this is true, somebody will be able to tell me, allegedly the special effects were done on an Commodore Amiga computer, which really does date them, but they look. I think they look pretty good, and actually for a science fiction show, it did have it had 6 degrees of motion spaceships and inertia and things in space. So unlike Star Wars and Star Trek, where all the ships sort of swoop around, either like airplanes or submarines, in Babylon 5 they had some nods to realism. The ships could spin sideways and separate their attitude vectors from their movement vectors, which were quite interesting. The effects were done on a video toaster system based on the Amiga. Okay, so there we go. So, but it's definitely worth a watch. Okay, it's not a neat and tidy aliens come to visit Earth show like Star Trek is, nor is it a sort of galaxy-spanning epic like Star Wars. It's got its own feel, and it's actually quite good. And there's lots of flawed characters in it, which I found was actually quite good writing. It flopped about a little bit in the middle series, but it came good in the end. So it's definitely worth a watch if you haven't come across Babylon 5. It's worth digging out as a good science fiction show. So that's definitely worth checking out. And the Thargoids are a little bit more nuanced than just alien baddies. In fact, the word Thargoid, the earliest reference to the word Thargoid that I've come across is actually in a series of very, very, very bad spoof sci-fi shows called Captain Kremin, which was done by a British comedian in the 70s called Kenny Everett, who sadly died in the 90s. That's the first time I came across the word Thargoid. I don't know if the elite Thargoids are named after the Captain Kremin Thargoids or not. Never managed to establish that, but that is that's a possibility. But Thargoids are not unique to the universe of Elite Dangerous. They do pre-exist before Elite in the 70s. That's right. It's a Dinklebum mind covered in. Exactly right. So that show is probably quite an acquired taste. It's very, very dated and definitely not politically or socially correct nowadays. So watch with caution if you do dig it up. Very much a product of its time. I think that's probably the fairest way to describe it. But that's, I think, the earliest mention of the Thargoids. But in Elite, in the original Elite, Thargoids was sort of end-of-level baddies. And of course, it was only an 8-bit game, so there's only a limit to what you could do. But the Thargoids would show up and attack you, and the idea being that humanity in the era of Elite was at... it's all done in the best possible taste, and I'm not doing that thing with my legs. There's definitely a few people here who know what I'm talking about, which is good. So that's good. So yeah, so in the possible text, so yeah, in the original Elite, the Thargoids were sort of end-of-level bandits, but the idea being that we were at war with them somewhere distantly in the galaxy, and we were seeing the odd scout ship come back. And it's interesting now in Elite Dangerous that the scout ships that we see, the small ones, are very similar in design to the sort of Thargoid vessels that we saw in the original game. So, the cunning stunt, yes. So very tongue-in-cheek humour, as you can see, from Kenny Everett. But that, I think, is the earliest mention of the Thargoids. Nope, I'm not going to charge my frameshift drive. I'm too close to the star. Let's wait for that to cool down. So anyway, and then the Thargoids in Elite Dangerous. Now, the history of the Thargoids in Elite Dangerous shows that we, as humanity, probably opened fire on them first, but that's not been all that well confirmed in the universe of Elite Dangerous. It's only supposition from the previous games. And Thargoids, of course, is our name for them. We don't know what they're called, what they call themselves, should I say. It's just our name for them. And Thargoids does sort of imply the existence of a Tharg, which of course is another thing. Somebody mentioned it there from 2000 AD. The Tharg, oid has its derivatives in Latin for like something. So if you're Thargoid, you are like Tharg. So that sort of implies the existence of a Tharg, but that's again maybe not something we can stretch in Elite Dangerous. Who knows? It's difficult to say. But all we know is that they are a kind of hive mind, insectoid in appearance, or maybe lobsterish, arachnid type appearance. They have some sort of organic-based technology rather than the kind of high-tech material-based technology that we have. And according to Michael Brooks, at least, all the ones that we've encountered thus far are female. So when you're out there slaughtering Thargoids, there you go. You're killing lots of lady Thargoids, and they have some similarities to sort of insect organisation on the Earth, where there are drones and there are queens and that sort of things. They have a kind of hive structure. So not hive mind necessarily. We're not quite talking things like the Borg. But not dissimilar to the way that insect colonies are organised, things like termites and ants and bees and things like that. Seems to be some similarities there. So, but more than that, we don't really know. They are a bit of an enigma. And obviously, now the interesting thing, of course, in Elite Dangerous is we keep bumping into the Thargoids and having space battles with them. Now, in reality, the Thargoids and us really shouldn't need to compete on resources at all, because Thargoids are kind of they've been called an ammonia-based life form. That's a bit disingenuous. Not really ammonia-based. They are a carbon-based life form like us, but the liquid they use for their chemical reactions is not water. It's ammonia. And so they operate, a comfortable temperature for a Thargoid is about 100 degrees lower than human temperatures are comfortable at. So a Thargoid on an Earth-like world would instantly boil and die. Okay, now we could visit a Thargoid world in a pressure suit and environmental suit, but we couldn't step outside on the surface either unprotected. We would freeze solid, virtually instantly. So in terms of habitable worlds, there should be no conflict between Thargoids and humans, because the worlds that we like are way too hot for them, and the worlds that they like are way too cold for us. So In terms of actual colonies, there should be no particular reason why humans and Thargoids can't happily coexist. Now, material resources might be a potential source of conflict, but we've never really found out what the Thargoids' beef is with us. They want to avoid opals. Well, who wouldn't, right? So the reasons for conflict are a bit peculiar. We know that the Thargoids went to war with the Guardians a long time ago, and the meta-alloys that their barnacles produce are obviously a thing that they value highly, which we've started pinching. Okay, and we've discovered their barnacles. Now it seems that their barnacles are a sort of refinery for meta-alloys, and as a result of that, we've been pinching them. We've come to their attention, and quite what they see us as is open to debate. They don't seem to see us instantly as something to be obliterated. Otherwise, they probably would have tried that. As a result, so somebody's already arrived in Alberio. And has found out the little thing about it, which is rather interesting. So you don't need to travel the entire 1 million light seconds. Yes, we'll come across to that. How far am I away, by the way, by this point? Must be getting close. 3 jumps away. There we go. I'm almost there myself. With my super fast asp. Kamakichi's already there. I can see on my wing, which is great. So Thargoids are a little bit of a mystery, really, as to why we're in conflict with them, and they certainly seem to be aware that we have encountered Guardian technologies, and they're looking for Guardians. Guardian tech. Now the Guardians went extinct millions of years ago, which is interesting. That the Thargoids were in conflict with them, because you can infer a couple of things from that in terms of Elite Dangerous lore. Is that if the Thargoids have been around in space and capable of space travel for millions of years, they are an extremely stable and potentially quite long-lived life form, and B, if they've been in space for 1 million years or a couple of million years, why haven't they conquered the entire galaxy already? We were actually talking about this on my Monday stream where we talk about aliens. Is that if you give an advanced spacefaring culture sufficient time, and assuming they can stay around for that length of time without killing themselves and blowing themselves up, etc., etc., you don't actually need that long in order to colonize the galaxy. I mean, we've been playing, for example, Elite Dangerous since how long has Elite Dangerous been out? It's been out since 2014, right? So 6 years, and we've visited. Somebody will have the actual number, about 0.5%, or is it point something of a percent? Not much. Agreed, but it shows that if the technology of Elite Dangerous was actually real, let's assume for a moment that Elite Dangerous is actually real, then it wouldn't actually take us that many decades, or just a few centuries of playing the game to actually visit and do stuff everywhere in the galaxy. Okay, 0.04. Okay, so we've done 0.04. That is 4/10,000ths of the galaxy. Okay, so at that rate, if people are still playing Elite in a few centuries' time, we will have gone everywhere in the galaxy. Okay, with the technology limitations of the Elite Dangerous game, which is ships that can jump 60, 50 light years, whatever it happens to be. Now, if you think about that for a moment, okay, that's a lot of gameplay. But if you give a civilization thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of years, colonizing entire galaxies with this sort of technology is peanuts. Okay, so why haven't the Thargoids done it if they've been in space for a few million years? Is it 400s? No, it's not 400 because that's 0.04%. So it's 400ths would be 4%. This is 100 times smaller than that. Right, so here we are at Alberio, okay? And we'll talk about that in a minute. So we should probably, they're playing their mobile phones too much. There's only 2 bodies here, Okay, now you don't need to travel, all right? So I don't know if there's anybody who's arrived here in a fleet carrier. Let's have a quick look. The Absolution, da da da. Knew that. Now I've given the Absolution. I do appreciate a motorbuck, as I'm sure is on the stream. Now I haven't given the Absolution quite a lot of airtime, so it's only fair, and I do appreciate it being here, motorbuck. I really do. But I ought to give the other one a little bit of airtime for someone taking the trouble to be here. So let's. I don't even know how you pronounce that one. The Omrin Langi. Let's rendezvous at the Omrin Langi. Because there's a danger that the Absolution becomes the unofficial Astro Tour ship. And it has been very nice to have it along, but it has been on the stream many times before. So let's go and have a look at the other one. If you can rendezvous in the Alberio system, we'll head for this fleet carrier called the Omrin Langi. I don't know what that means. So if the owner of the Omrin Langi is here, then please do make yourself known. Because it's always nice to give the fleet carrier owners a little bit of air, because they spend a lot of time. I really do appreciate them getting their fleet carriers to places, and you know, fueling them up with tritium and all that kind of stuff. It's it's not cheap, and it's time consuming. So so you don't need to travel to the main star. You'll notice you've jumped out at the smaller of the two stars. So this is a slightly unusual system, because you're generally probably used to jumping out of hyperspace near the what appears to be the biggest star. That doesn't happen in the Alberio system, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Let's just get here so other folks can kind of rendezvous. It's a large. Sidewinder 40 said that it's the highest mass system. So anyway, here we are, basking in the light. So the white star in the Alberio system is the highest mass. Okay, it's much bigger is the wrong word. Heavy is also the wrong word. Massive is the correct word. You can't really talk of heavy in space, because heavy implies gravity. But let me just fly down the other end of this ship. Looks very nice. So we can get the star in the background, which is always nice to see. Now there is a particular reason for me choosing the Alberio system, which will become clear. Look at that. That looks amazing. In a moment. It's a total astronomical reason. So anyway, if you manage to get into my instance, this is where I am. So there we go. Let's angle up. See how many of you can drop in on me near this fleet carrier. So yes. So this star here is not the primary star, but it is the heaviest one. And the way that the frameshift drive hyperspace lock works is it locks onto the most massive object, which in this case is this star, not the other one. So it's kind of not the primary, but it is in terms of mass. But the way that the system map shows it is not. Now you may be thinking, okay, so what's the big deal about this star? The reason it's interesting astronomically is that it looks amazing. Okay, let me show you. From Earth. Okay, from Earth. So here we go. I'll just show you. Okay, so we've now moved. We've actually flown the length from Deneb to Alberio. There's Alberio there. Okay. Now with the naked eye, Alberio just looks like any other star. Not particularly bright. Okay, not particularly bright. Not particularly interesting. But if you have a telescope, and get a chance to look at Alberio. It doesn't need to be like a particularly large telescope either. Just an average amateur telescope, not like a professional observatory one, but just an ordinary amateur telescope. The typical stuff that you find. I've actually got one just behind me, so yeah, nothing superly expensive. Okay, but get a chance to look at Alberio. Okay, the reason why. Let me show you. I'm just going to zoom in on it. So this is the sort of view you get with binoculars. Again, you can't really see it with binoculars. But if you zoom in to Alberio in a telescope, you'll notice it splits into two components. Okay, it splits into two components, and in a telescope, you can see these two stars, which are orbiting each other. And in a telescope, it looks dramatic. Okay, the color differences here are not very easy to see. You can see in Elite Dangerous right now, we are actually in orbit around this one. This is where the fleet carrier is, and this is the larger, or the volume-wise, the biggest star. In a telescope, this appears bright blue. Okay, and in a telescope, this one appears bright orange, and it's two spectral classes of stars which are very, very different. Okay, this one is an orange giant, and this one over here is a bright white star, almost blue with the distance and the temperature that it is. It's very, very dramatic in a telescope. If I get a picture of it up on the internet here, just quickly. Alberio. There we are. You'll notice here. Here's a good example of it in a telescope. You get a very, very pretty. That's even better. There we go. A really, really bright orange, and a blue, and it's these two are in orbit around each other, quite a wide orbit, which is why you can see them separated from the Earth in even a small telescope. But it's two stars that are radically different colours, because we tend to think of stars in the night sky as they're all kind of white, but they're not. If you look closely at them, they show their colours when you've got enough light coming in. There's another picture of it there, a really nice one. You can see the distinct spectral classes, and these two are in space together. Alberio is this star system, and it's just a wonderful thing to look at in the telescope. It's easy to see from the northern hemisphere, virtually all through spring, summer, and autumn. And if you've got a local astronomical society anywhere near you, and they've got some telescopes out and about, get them to show you Alberio, because looking at it yourself, you can see the colours, and because they are really close together, the colours are really distinct. Your eye can go, oh, that one's blue and that one's orange, and it's really, really interesting to see it. Yes, the chat's concealing the picture. Sorry about that. There you go. Yes, I'm looking at like too many screens, and that's you don't quite see them, with all the lines and things pointing out. That's a photographic artifact, but you will see those colours in a telescope, even a small telescope. If you look at Alberio, so it's a if you ask any amateur astronomer about Alberio, they go, oh yeah, that looks amazing in a telescope. You must see it, and that's why it's the spectral classes of those two stars are very, very different, and it's an amazing sight in a telescope, and we've been able to visit it in Elite Dangerous as well. So that's what it looks like from Earth, and we are currently in orbit there around that bluest star. So it's worth going to have a look at that as well. So that's where we are. There's an Anaconda has arrived, which is good. Where's the actual other? Let me just have a quick look around. Where's the actual other star? Can we see it? Just going to pan around. I don't know where it would be, depending on the orientation we're at, I suppose. It's not showing up that way. Let's just do a pan around there. Can we see the other star? Must be around somewhere. It's going to sort of wind around. I may need to drop out and have a look where it actually is. Can't accidentally come across it. It should be really, really bright, but it's not all that obvious. So let me just pop out of here and go and have a look and see if we can find it. Oh, I've got a new friend request to better answer that. There we go. Let's just have a look at the system map, so you can see the different star classes. So these are the two classes. So if I click on it, that will show me where in the sky. It's actually directly behind me, interesting enough. So I'm just going to orientate my ship around to go and have a look. How far away is it? We know it's quite a long way. 1.6k light seconds, so that's quite a lot. So there it is. Actually, it looks
I was crazy enough to travel the 1.6 million light seconds. I'm at Alberio and it's massive. Okay, so it just looks like a brighter star from here. It shouldn't. Okay, 1.6 million light seconds is a fair old way, it has to be said, but it should be way, way brighter than that at this point. Now, Elite Dangerous isn't brilliant at doing these kind of lights. We've noticed this is a small flaw in the what's it called? The Stellar Forge. That's it. The Stellar Forge. It should be way, way, way brighter, okay, than it actually is represented here in the sky, which is a little bit of a shame. But that is. It should be flooding because it's almost as bright as that from Earth, let alone from here. So it should be very, 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 very visible at this range, and unfortunately it isn't. But so that's a lighting issue. It's not, unfortunately, something we can't do anything about. But the idea being that we've visited it. Okay, some of these star things. This is one of the slight downsides of doing some of the astronomy in Elite Dangerous is it doesn't render things quite how it should. Although if you look at it on the galactic map, it is doing it properly here. You can see that there are two stars. Or at least we did there for a moment. It pops in and pops out in a slightly unusual way. I'm not quite sure why it's now disappeared. Power play is no use. So realistic it should be. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Not quite sure why it isn't anymore. It was there for a moment ago. Maybe I have to select it, does that? No, it's not doing it. Anyway, there's a way of doing that. I don't know if they'll fix it in Odyssey. I suspect not. I think things like this are probably quite a low priority. But it is worth checking out. In fact, actually, I can check it out in Space Engine. So just hang on a moment while a few other people are on the way, because I know a few people are travelling through space. If I have a look in Space Engine, this is going to really crucify my PC, actually. Running Elite Dangerous and streaming and Space Engine and Stellarium at the same time, which is probably my computer's going to go what? But anyway, we'll see how it goes out there. We have lots of other stars to visit, so yes, we need to get a shift on. So there are other places to go. I'm just going to fire up Space Engine. Let's have a quick look at that. Travel there. Normal space, yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if we could set hyperspace destinations to particular places? That would be really, really good. But yes, we do need to have a look at a few other places. Let's just have a quick look at what Space Engine does with Alberio. Alberio. There we go. I'm glad my PC hasn't fallen in a heap doing this. Right, so there we go. So there we go. We've gone to the barycenter of Alberio. So this is the star that we're actually in orbit around now in Elite Dangerous. You notice that actually Space Engine is showing us that the star is actually subtly distorted. This is another thing that Space Engine does that Elite Dangerous doesn't. Is it this star is actually spinning so fast that it's actually not spherical. It's actually kind of squashed, or at least bulging, shall I say. So that's quite an interesting effect. And there you can see there's the other star, which is much more what it should look like from here. So this is one thing that I like about space engineering is the astronomy is better. And we can go there, obviously. It'll zoom in on us for a moment. Let's speed that up a bit. There we go. Yeah. Come on, why are we not there? Not quite sure why it's not doing that properly. There we go. That's where I want to go. Go there. Boom. Okay. And we can see the other star. They're correct brightness. So those, and we got this sort of nice halo effect around the edges as well, which is just there to make it look fun. So Space Engine, if you haven't really got it, it's worth checking out for the astronomy. Used to as a sort of side reference for things. But anyway, we need to move on with the tour because there's plenty of other places to go. So let's go to the other part of the triangle. We're now going to go across to Vega, which is named correctly in Elite Dangerous, unlike Deneb for some strange reason. So head for Vega.
How far away is that? It's... Oh, we need it. Oh, wow. That wasn't there before. That's interesting. Apparently we need a permit. I'm sure I checked that out before and it didn't. The Vega system permit. Ooh. Well, we can't go there then. I could have sworn I checked that earlier and it wasn't there. Because I did the research for this Astro tour about 3 months ago. And I haven't... It requires petty officer info. Does it? Maybe I was checking it out on another account. That's a bit annoying. I haven't got the permit. Well, scratch that then. That's annoying. I'm going to have to go and get that. Because I can't do that. Anyway, okay, right. Well, that might. Never mind. Vega we can go to. Let's go to Altair, which I do know about. That's a little bit further on over here. There we go. How far away is that? That's 400 light years. So these are slightly longer distances. Let me just check. Everyone but Drew can go there. Yeah. We might want to take detours. Myra is... Yeah, they're quite big, these distances. So I may have a look at things just in terms of the amount of time we've got on stream, because it's already 9 o'clock, isn't it? Alberio we've done, Deneb we've done, Altair, and so I think we're going to end up with Myra being the last one. So let's go. We'll go to Myra last. All right, we'll go to Myra last, but we'll go to Altair along the way. So Altair is our next destination, which is closer back to the core worlds, as you can see, and then we'll head to Myra from there. So onwards we go. So yeah, good old multi-crew, but yeah, my record of multi-crew is not great. Right, so who's that in front of me? Commander Kamikichi 9. So heading for Altair, that's our next rendezvous point. But we will terminate in the Myra system, okay? We'll terminate in the Myra system. We'll try and get there as soon as we can. So how many jumps is that for me? It's only 7 jumps away, so we're not talking quite the same sort of distances. I've got to get away from the fleet carrier. So we'll say goodbye to the Alberio system. But if you do get a chance, okay? Yeah, so if some of you go through Vega on the way, I can't on this account, which is a bit annoying. Bit of an oversight there. So if you can go, if you can get your local astronomy society, if you can pinch a telescope from somewhere, you know, in a nice way, don't pinch it illegally, then definitely get them to show you Alberio, okay? Definitely get them to show you Alberio. So if now Vega is well known in science fiction. Now there's a connection between the name of my ship and the Vega star system. Okay, so you will probably be aware that my ship is called the Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan is sort of a personal hero of mine. I'm sad to say I never got to shake his hand, but I did meet him once when I was 7, and you know, I've now got not quite video evidence of that meeting, but you know, I was in the audience of one of his lectures at the age of 7 in 1977. Carl Sagan, you may or may not be aware, he wrote a lot of science books, okay, and but he also wrote a fiction book, okay. He wrote a science fiction book, and a very good one actually, and it was made into a film. The book and the film are both called Contact, and it's basically the story of alien civilization making first contact with Earth. Now, Carl Sagan himself was a very enthusiastic radio astronomer. He was actually one of the people responsible for determining the surface of Venus was incredibly hot, and they didn't do that by, you know, a space probe, and they didn't do that by, you know, a thermometer or anything like that. They worked out that Venus was incredibly hot by its radio emissions. Now, and Carl Sagan was a radio astronomer, and you know, he made a big deal of the search for extraterrestrial life, SETI, intelligence, should I say, you know, he was a major proponent of that. You know, that we should be pointing radio telescopes up into space, listening for signals to see if there were alien civilizations out there. You know, and again on Monday we were talking a little bit about the Drake equation and the Fermi paradox, which basically says, you know, if there are so many stars out there and there are so many planets out there, and the chance of life, is a finite possibility, even if it's small, there must be other civilizations out there, and there's a way for them to communicate, and that is radio technology, radio waves. And there are certain frequencies in the universe that it would make sense for extraterrestrial intelligences, if they wanted to transmit messages, to transmit at certain frequencies. One of those is the hydrogen band, 21 centimeter radio wavelength, which is extremely good way to transmit information across long distances in space without interference. And so Carl Sagan, amongst others, encouraged people to do searches using radio telescopes, and they pointed radio telescopes at nearby stars and listened to see if there was anything anything going on. And Kip Thorne, yes, we'll come along to Kip Thorne wormholes. So we have been doing this. Okay, we have been listening to nearby stars and other destinations that look interesting with radio telescopes for a number of decades, and so far we haven't found anything. The silence, if you like, has in some ways been rather peculiar. It's almost as if, the galaxy is a big place, and we don't know how unusual the Earth is in terms of its ability to support life. And there's a rare Earth hypothesis. You can look that up. Certainly, some of you who have seen me talk about the different types of planetary system that we see in space. Most of the planetary systems that we've discovered in terms of exoplanets and things are very, very different from the planetary systems that our solar system seems to be quite unusual in the way it's constructed. With rocky planets near the core and the big gas giants on the outside edge. We haven't found any solar systems that are similar to ours at all so far. We've found lots and lots of solar systems, or sun systems, or star systems, should I say, but not very, very, very few anything like ours. So it does sort of suggest that our solar system is a bit unusual. Does that mean that life itself, or at least intelligent life, or should I say, we had this discussion on Monday. Do we count ourselves as intelligent life? So I think what I mean by intelligent life is a civilization that is capable of constructing a radio telescope and listening for other civilizations. It doesn't say anything about how we conduct ourselves. It's just our ability to build a radio telescope. That's how I'm defining intelligent life. Whether that life is totally self-destructive is by the by. Can you build a radio telescope and point it up into space? That's my definition of intelligent life. We haven't heard anything. Okay, we've been listening, but we haven't heard anything. And there have been multiple attempts, and sometimes people ridicule it as a complete waste of time, and sometimes it gets lots of support. And everyone goes, "Yeah, that's a really worthwhile thing to do." But intelligent life, but perhaps not wise, I think is exactly right. There is extraterrestrial life. We sent water bears to the moon. That's very true. Yes, and they came back alive, which is even more amazing. I've just come out of a nice little double star system here. That was quite pretty, wasn't it? I like these little double ones. I like bouncing between the stars. Just fuel from one a little bit, and then fuel the other one. So Mintopia's quite right. There's lots of theories as to why the universe is quiet, and I've just gone around a bit too fast. Let's do that again. Can I look at that? Get both of them on the screen at the same time. That does look quite cool. Appears I'm back in civilized space here, because there's a cruise ship. That always strikes me as funny. Let's just refuel my ship while I'm here. Realise I probably haven't been doing my honk, have I? Silly me. So there's all sorts of theories as to why we haven't heard anything. Is it that there aren't any other intelligences out in our galaxy at all? Is that likely? Well, we don't know. Is it likely that we're totally alone, and this is it? This is the only higher form of life. We're it. We are the pinnacle of the universe's creation. Okay. I tend to distrust that one myself for a number of reasons, which is we've always considered ourselves the pinnacle of humanity's creation. We've always been knocked down a peg every time we take a scientific step forward. So I suspect that one's wrong. Okay, is it that there are lots and lots of civilizations out there and they've taken a look at Earth and gone, oh, stay away from them, don't answer? That's a possibility. Is it the one that seems to me most likely is that probably, and Elite Dangerous rather does this quite well actually, is that intelligent life, certainly sapient intelligent life, capable of constructing a radio telescope is actually really, really rare because it's quite hard to do. Okay, it's quite a long way down the evolutionary chain. Now, humans are at the end of a long, long evolutionary ladder that stretches back about 4 and a bit billion years. Okay, and we are here by happy coincidence because of asteroid strikes and ice ages and all sorts of other interesting coincidences that have led to the creation of humanity in terms of evolutionary pressures. You're going to have something analogous to that on another planetary system in order to generate creatures that are capable of manipulating their environment in a similar way to us. So that's an interesting one to ponder, is how much stress does a life form have to be under in order to evolve into something that is therefore intelligent enough to manipulate its environment and ultimately build a radio telescope. The good news is that the physics and the electronics of a radio telescope are universal, okay, because it's based on maths and physics and electromagnetic radiation. So that at least we would have in common with any alien intelligence out there. But it does strike me that the number of chances that have resulted in us means that we're fairly improbable. So there probably aren't that many sapient intelligence in the galaxies, if there are any others at all. Now, if they are, let's say, 1,000 sapient intelligences in the galaxy, they are going to be separated by an average of several thousand light years. If you scatter them around evenly in the galaxy, sort of Stellaris style, if you've played that game, without FTL communications or FTL travel, and here we are at Vega, not Vega, Altair. They're thousands of light years away from each other, so there's no easy way for them to get in contact with each other. And we've had radio telescopes for what, maybe 100 years. So the furthest our signals can go out. Yeah, sorry, Stellaris plug there. The furthest our signals can go out into space is 100 light years by definition. That's how fast light travels, how fast radiation travels. So that's the furthest our signals have gone. So if anybody's beyond that, as far as they're concerned, Earth is a totally silent, uninhabited planet. There's no evidence that there's any life on Earth. Okay, now if there's another civilization 2,000 light years away that's been broadcasting for 500 years, saying, "Hey, we're here. Yeah, we're cool aliens. Come and talk to us about mathematics and astronomy and stuff," we won't hear from them for 1,500 years. Okay, the space is too big. So unless there is a way for FTL communications or FTL travel, the chances of, even if we detect an alien civilization, we can't have a reasonable conversation with them because they're too far away. Physics is a bummer. and light speed really is annoyingly slow. Okay, right. There's loads of fleet carriers here. Where should we rendezvous? Grandin Gateway, Tereshkova Dock. We have Origins, Hammond. We've done quite a lot of fleet carriers. Let's go to Tereshkova Dock. I like the sound of that. So that's where we're going to rendezvous. Okay, just while we're here. The Elite Rebel Force. That sounds quite exciting. Don't know who they are. So yes, they rendezvous there. We're not very far away from this star, which is quite cool. So let's go over there, and we'll just chat about that. So anyway, a long story. Carl Sagan wrote a fictional book about this exact thing. So basically, what happens in contact? No, not too many spoilers. Is we receive a transmission from an extraterrestrial intelligence. Okay. And in the film/book Contact, is we receive a radio transmission from space, and it turns out to be from the star Vega, or at least something in orbit around the star Vega. And basically, it's the novel is basically what happens when humanity receives this message from outer space, and it's quite well crafted in terms of the political and social impacts of this message coming from space, and how religious people react to it, and how scientists react to it, and how politicians react to it, how different countries react to it, etc., etc., etc. So, if you haven't read / watched Contact, I think it's the main scientist in it is a lady called Ellie, who's played by, I think, is it Jodie Foster in the film, and does a really, really good job of it, actually. Jodie Foster was an excellent choice for that character, because she's got that sort of aloofness, which is really, really, really good for this character. She's in the book, she's a very driven, introverted scientist lady, and highly intelligent, but very introverted, and Jodie Foster plays her very, very well. It's based on a real scientist, is it? I'm going to have to look that up. I didn't know that. But anyway, of course, ultimately, Jodie Foster / Ellie gets to go and meet the aliens, and I won't spoil that, because that's quite clever as well. It's not a classic, whoa, aliens in Star Trek style kind of latex suits. It's not that sort of experience. So it's worth digging out and watching it. But the way she gets there is interesting, and this is where we get back to Kip Thorne. Is that she gets to travel to Vega using a wormhole, and actually I've been, if any of you are on my Monday stream, I know a few of you are. I've been looking into plausible, and I use the word plausible. Plausible. There's a few commanders here. Excellent. Plausible means of FTL travel. And unfortunately, hyperspace falls short quite quickly in terms of plausibility. As far as the laws of physics as we know them today. Now, of course, that's not saying that there won't be some amazing discoveries in the years to come. There's the star. I always like having the star in the background, so let's do that. But hyperspace so far doesn't look great. Okay. In terms of plausibility, whereas wormholes aren't currently, although they require sort of exotic materials which we don't have, notably something called negative mass or exotic matter. They aren't ruled out by the laws of physics as we understand at the moment, which I think is a tantalising possibility. Now, I actually need this because I'm going to be, before too long, embarking on a new space opera myself in terms of writing, and I need to have a plausible FTL technology to make that work. And wormholes are number one, because I've gone through all of the classic, warp drives and hyperspaces and all sorts of things, and wormholes are by far the best candidate for an FTL type technology. Whether static, i.e., they're kind of constructed in place, or whether you could then, potentially generate one on board your ship and then jump through it, sort of thing. So if there are going to be FTL technology, it seems like wormholes at the moment are the one that's most likely, and I think that's why Kip Thorne recommended to Carl Sagan that he use wormholes in his story, because they are the most plausible. And Carl Sagan's fictional book, you won't be surprised to know, is based on some pretty good science. So not ruled out. Yeah, it's exactly right. JR 1988 is exactly where I'm coming from. Now, for those of you who know what I'm doing, I'm going to be expanding my Shadewood series of books, which is sort of a science fiction / fantasy series, but I'm still thrusting forward. Sorry, I'm not good at stopping my ship, am I? There we go. But one of the rules for my writing in that universe is that I obey the laws of physics. So I can't have stuff that doesn't match the laws of physics. So, but I do need to extrapolate into the future somewhat. And so, and in order to make the story work, I needed the FTL technology. So I wanted to make a plausible one, and wormholes seem to be it. So. That's why I'm doing my research at the moment and learning all about wormholes and stuff. So anyway, so apologies we can't get to Vega, but Altair is the next best thing. So we've kind of done the Sima triangle, kind of. I know I've cut the corner a little bit with Vega, but we sort of, we'd go past it. Is that blue line somebody's exhaust? It's quite weird. Oh, it's just fading out. There we go. So those sorts of things are womble holes. That's what we want. And but anyway, Vega was the location of the Contact movie. So, that was an FSD drop trail. Okay, those sorts of things are, are quite interesting. So, but wormholes seem to be, So a two-sided triangle is definitely what we're doing. That blue line is lens flare. There's another one which somebody's flying around there with a blue exhaust. That's what it is. So there we go. So anyway, we are now at 25 past. Now, in order to get ready for our hyperspace jump, we do need to get to our final destination. Now, I want to take you to, again, one of my favourite stars, now that we've got to Altair. And this is the star Mira. And let's have a look on the galaxy map, because it's a little way off still. So we're going to need to trog across. These distances are getting further, alas, but it's 400 light years away. So this is our final destination for today. So let's head over there. It's 8 jumps for me. Hopefully it's not too far for you guys. So head for Mira. I'll just type that in the chat. There we go. That's where we're heading now. And we'll see how many of us we can rendezvous there for another jump. Now, today's MIDI theme tune is... It's as was requested last week, actually. So I've prepped that, which is quite good. I'll see if we can find an interesting place to fly through, actually, because we kind of need to not just for the MIDI theme tune this week. I think we kind of need to be. I don't know. It's like we need an obstacle course or something. So that's right. Kelvinator has hit the nail on the head. Okay. Now Mira is very important to astronomers. Mira is very important to astronomers because it is it's what's known as a variable star. And most stars, not the theme from Contact. No, I should try the theme from Contact at some point. No, so we are doing Airwolf tonight. And the beauty of me composing these things, in MIDI format, and again, those of you who don't know what's MIDI format. MIDI format is an old school way of recording music digitally, and then it doesn't actually store the sound of the instruments. All it stores is the on-off action of the keynotes and a few other bits of information to use, that you can use to do other clever stuff with. So MIDI isn't a format. Basically, MIDI is an interesting format in the sense that it will sound completely different depending on the equipment you play it on. So you have to set up your synthesizer, which is the thing that receives the MIDI code, if you like, the MIDI signal, correctly to do that. Now today that's much easier than it was in the olden days, because we can do it all in software, whereas back in the day you'd actually need a proper box of synthesizer trickery to do it and make it sound good. But I used to do a lot of MIDI composition back in the day, and I'm a amateur musician, very amateur, I hasten to add. And the Roland MT32, yes, yeah. Well, that was the daddy, of course. A really cool programmable synth for very, very decent sound. So that is the machine that we used to hook up, and you used to send your MIDI output to the MT32 and the Roland, the Roland U22, and the Korg. What was the Korg one? And so yes, some of those things are older than MIDI, but the MIDI was a way to sort of try and standardise them a bit, and worked pretty well. And those devices would have either what was called FM synthesis at the time, where you try and recreate the sound of a real instrument using computer technology, which wasn't great back in the day, or you would have sampled instruments, and so you'd have samples of the real instrument that the box would then play basically on receipt. So if you said, give me a bassoon on channel 5, it would play a bassoon, and whatever came in on channel 5 would make a bassoon sound. And that's basically how they worked. Nowadays, of course, you can emulate all this stuff in software. You don't need a breakout hardware box to do it. And yes, mod music was also the rave too. Yeah, so mod music was really, really good. I don't know. I didn't get into mods as much, but I knew it was a big thing. I was much more into MIDI and stuff in the 80s. So what it basically means is that I can put some famous music into my stream that I've actually composed based on the original, but because I'm not playing the original, YouTube and Twitch allow me to get away with it as a cover version, as long as I am happy to share any revenue that we generate, which is literally peanuts. It's a few pence. With the original person who owns the copyright, which seems a fair deal if you're going to use their music. But it's not actually their music, it's me listening to, and I play by ear. Not literally, obviously, figuratively. And I listen to the music and I break it down, and I just play it back on multiple channels and then sort of sequence it up, which is what you do with MIDI files. So that's basically what I do. So I can get away with playing popular music, as it were, and it does. No, I haven't had a personal email from Jean-Michel Jarre yet, so I'm still awaiting that. So Jean-Michel Jarre, we did Rendezvous the other week. And basically my quest on this is, if my MIDI files are good enough, they trigger a copyright claim. And I'm averaging about 55% at the moment, so I'm quite pleased with that my MIDI rendition skills are good enough to trigger the algorithm that obviously searches these things for copyright infringement, and basically says, oh, you seem to be doing a cover version of so and so song. Is it okay if we grab any? We make a claim on it. So it's sort of it's fair use in that sense, but it is quite funny. So that's basically what I'm doing. So anyway, so tonight's theme tune is the theme from Airwolf, and again, many of you on the stream will know what Airwolf is all about. But if you're not familiar with Airwolf, Airwolf is an 80s. What is it? Yeah, use a Disney song. So I haven't done Star Wars yet, but I think I might try that. But I think as long as fair use is okay, I should be okay. So Airwolf is how do you describe Airwolf? Airwolf is a classic American 80s TV show where, I don't know how to describe the genre. It's I always lump it in with the A-Team and other shows like that, where basically you have some sort of good guys who are slightly bad, i.e. they've done bad stuff, but they're generally, they've got hearts of gold underneath, kind of thing. Doing sort of missions, action adventure is about right, So, it's episodic, and the bad guys always get their comeuppance in the end. And so these good guys who've got lots of personality flaws basically go around, fixing things for the underdogs, or that is that sort of thing. And Airwolf is one whereby they fly in a very implausible helicopter. It's a helicopter that can do more than Mark 1, which of course is impossible. It seems to have an inexhaustible supply of missiles on board, and it's got stealth capabilities and all sorts of cool stuff, and it's just very, very silly, but it sort of works. It's oh, and the ZX Spectrum game is impossible virtually. Really, really hard. I do remember having that and playing that. It was impossible. Right, we're almost at Myra. Here we go. So this is our final stop today. It's but the theme tune to Airwolf is again another masterpiece. Okay, so yeah, has it got a cappuccino machine? Excellent. Yeah, it's definitely a show that's worth watching. As long as you have to reset your expectations of 80s plotting and 80s action sequences, where of course you reuse footage a lot. But it does what helicopters can't do. But the theme tune is awesome. Right, here we are. So this is an M-type giant star. Now this is Myra. Now Myra is a variable star. It pulsates. This is quite good. It's a huge star, as you can see. I don't know how far away we are from it here. Let's identify. There we are. So we are 119 light seconds away. I can't do that in AUs. What's that in AUs? Anyway, it's a pretty big star, as you can see. It's not one of the small, but it actually changes both volume and output on a regular basis. And Mira is what's known as a variable star. Most stars are relatively stable, but Mira actually sort of pulsates over a long period of time. So 500 light seconds is 1 AU, so actually about a fifth of an AU out. So it's not like super enormous, but it's bigger. We need a fleet. Are there any fleet carriers here? I don't know if there are. What have we got that we can actually hook around? So we haven't actually got a fleet carrier. We haven't got any locales, have we? Which is a bit of a shame, actually. Have we got any spaceports that we could rendezvous at? We haven't really got anything here, have we? Which is a bit. I thought there might be something in the system that we could use, but it looks like we haven't even got a planetary port. So we might have it. Anyway, I wanted to show you Mira because the absolution is on the way. Okay, so the good old absolution is coming, so we can hook up with the absolution. But I kind of did want to surface. I feel like we need to fly through something. The absolution is due. Okay, 7 minutes. We're being too fast for the other one. Okay, not to worry. I'm just wondering what we could do. It's difficult to know. I can see one there. Who's that? That's the absolution. Okay, well let's head to the absolution because that allows us to rendezvous. Maybe we can fly. We'll do some. We should do so. Tell you what we'll do. We'll do a system without a fleet carrier. No, that's really unusual nowadays, isn't it? Let us rendezvous at the absolution. What we'll do is we'll do some dangerously close flying. And sort of follow my leader to the Airwolf theme, because the thing with the Airwolf theme is it's not a static thing. Okay. you have to be flying around and doing dangerous maneuvers to the Airwolf theme. It's just one of those things that has to be done. So let's go to the absolution. Now, obviously, because it's a fleet carrier, we can't actually do any damage to it. But there is a danger that you might damage your ship. So just spare that man. Oh, I'm doing a loop of shame. Oops. So I think a little bit of follow my lead around the fleet carrier is going to be called for here. Where do we go with the Airwolf theme, because that's definitely a thing. So see how many people again we can get into the instance again. So let's do that first. Has the absolution actually arrived, or is it still coming? So let's just get into the instance first. I do need to get my own carrier at some point. That's a lot of money. Alright, it doesn't look like it's here yet, which is good. So how do I tell whether it's arriving? There we go. Expected to arrive in 4 minutes. Okay, that's cool. Right, so we can watch it arrive. I don't know how close we have to be. Don't want to be too close because I think that's coming in. We'll catch it coming in, so that's quite good. Yeah, that's true. So we should probably let the carrier arrive, shouldn't we? 4 kilometers is about safe. Okay, so let me get into just more than 4 kilometers, and I'll stop about there. There we go. Let's bring it in. So I'm going to wait and watch for it to arrive. So in the meantime, let me get. Am I ready for? I am ready for Airwolf. There we go. That's good. I do like this bit. It's quite good fun. So yes, we'll catch it coming in. So there we are. I'm at 4.16 kilometers. So actually, if I turn my wing beacon on, then there we go. Anybody who is in my wing can rendezvous. I've got a spare space in my wing. So I know Anna Claire is out there. So I'll invite you to my wing. See if we can get a few of you in the same instance. You can be close, it just pushes you out of the way. I haven't damaged the ship doing that yet. Okay, so we can watch it coming. Once it starts to appear, then we can start dragging people into the instance and sort of line up and do crazy stuff. The beautiful blue tunnel is back. Yay! I can get closer. Okay, so I'll close what, 3 kilometers. Yeah, don't get too close. And it's now saying 2 minutes 58. That is counting down. Good. Okay. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. I can't remember if I've seen it arrive or not on stream. So yeah. So once we get the carrier, how are we doing? We got 20 minutes. We're good. We're good. So anyway, so that's a tour of the sort of summer triangle. It's nice to kind of wander out. Sorry, I didn't check on Vega, but we can. I'm still drifting. Sorry. It's this throttle. There we go. Well, now I'm 2.92 kilometers. The arrival looks good. So I don't know which direction it's going to come in at. I suppose I don't really know at this point in time. I have to wait and see what it turns up. But yeah, so anyway, that's the summer triangle. While we're waiting, just so you know, next week I am not here, okay? Yeah, I'm on holiday next week. So there won't be any streams for me next week. I will be off on holes. But I will be back the week after that. So the Astro tour will continue with the Orion tour. Okay, so we're going to overtour the Orion constellation. So that's Betelgeuse and Rigel and all those kind of things. We will probably take a spin over to some of the nebula as well. So bear that in mind. And again, we will have other bits and pieces to do. So it's going to be Orion in 2 weeks' time. So bear that in mind. So there we go. We have a nice Anaconda there. Don't know who that is. I saw Anna Claire's ship as well, which is good. Will we be going to VY Canis Major? Yes, we are. That one is on the list. That's some of the longer journeys. Those are quite a long way off. So yeah, guys, you're blocking my view of the arriving Vega ship. I'm gonna buzz down a bit. There we go. Actually, put me on external camera. That's gonna be even better, isn't it? There we go. So then we can see everything. I think I'm pointing in the right direction. There's a few other people arriving now, which is good. This is good. Right, so I think I'm pointing in the right direction for the megaship to arrive. Should be here momentarily. So the starting system in the fortnight. So yeah, let me just check. We will be going to Betelgeuse. Don't say that 3 times, but it will be Betelgeuse. Okay, so that's where we will be in 2 weeks. 2 weeks time. So get yourselves out there. It's not too far away, but we do want to do a little bit of a tour of a few other bits and pieces as well. So again. I've said it twice. I'm not going to say it again. Very, very bad luck. So, how are we doing? How are we doing for the absolution? Oh, here we go. There it is. It's arriving. Look at that. It's working on stream. Perfect. Does look quite cool, doesn't it? Here it comes. Sounds cool as well. It's like this guy's groaning out of hyperspace. There it is, the absolution. Awesome stuff. Right, so there we go. It has arrived. The home of Zaphod Beeblebrox. Yes, so Betelgeuse is very common in fiction as well. So now we need to play some of the instancing roulette. Okay, so now we've got the absolution in my instance. If you're in my instance, then don't wing up with me, if that makes sense. Only wing up with people who aren't in the instance, so they've got the opportunity to jump back in again, and so on and so forth. We'll see how many people we can get into the instance. All right, it's a game we have to play. So I think all these people are local. So. Who can I get into my instance that I haven't got? So first, Seth Eridan, I think I just saw in the chat. So I'm inviting you to my wing. Hopefully that will work. Let me know. Who else have I got here? Right, Seth Eridan is in my wing, which is good. So just dump your name in the chat and I'll see what I can do. So yeah, so Sea Dweller is in my instance already, so that's good. So let's see if we can bring that kind of stuff in. I've got Commander Arkwright and I've got Commander Burnt Jello. So I'll invite you two and see if you can get into my. Right, Arkwright is there. That worked. I'm just going to switch off my voice comms because it tends to go wrong. So once you're in the same instance as me, drop the wing and try and invite somebody else who isn't, and the more people we can get in, the better. So there we go. Let's see how many we can get in. That's always the fun and games at this part of the evening. Commander Mintopia, right? Let me see if I can find you. There we are. Send you an invite. Wing invite failed. You're already in a wing. So somebody already got you first, by the look of it. So that's good. I can see somebody's Guardian fighter flapping about there, which is always good. So how are we doing? It's filling up, which is nice. Like I can see a few people in the instance already, which is good. So and there's the lovely fleet carrier. So I think for this one it's going to be full pips to engines. And we're going to do some very reckless flying around the fleet carrier. See what we can get away with. And see if we can sort of follow each other around. This might be dangerous. So I'm going to put a standard disclaimer. It's if you suffer loss or damage to your ship as a result of shenanigans on stream, it's not my fault, okay? You're going to have to sign up to that. So if you don't want to take part, then don't. But what I think we'll do, because it's Airwolf, okay, we need to have a sort of action flying sequence. So my plan is I'm going to fly around the fleet carrier to the tune of Airwolf, okay, with lots of as much speed and boost as my machine, because given it's an exploration crate, it's not going to be that fast. So your mileage may vary depending on what sort of ship you brought and the amount of danger that you have. So I suggest you put some pips and shields as well. And if your ship is really, really, really expensive, maybe you just want to watch, okay? And we'll just have a bit of a laugh flying around to the Airwolf theme. So anyway, so right, how are we doing? Right, so land and sell data to the carrier before exploration. That might not be a bad idea actually. So I think I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to have a chat with the Absolution and actually do that. That's a very good idea. I don't think I've got a great deal of exploration data on my ship, but every little helps, right? So I don't know. I think that's a good question actually. What happens if a carrier tries to jump to a permit locked 6 system and one or more of the people on board doesn't have the permit? Does it just not allow you to go, or does it jump you off the system or something? I don't know. What does it do? Does anybody know the answer to that one? So I know I get a little bit penalised by the fleet carrier, but there we go. As long as I don't go into the hold, it's just not allowed to go to permit lock systems at all. Right? Okay. I suppose that sort of makes sense. A bit dull, but right. So can I sell my exploration data? I don't think I've got very much, but I might as well sell. I've probably got a little bit. There we go. Does it also sell all? I'll sell page. There we go. 1.6 million. Well, that's all right. Better than nothing. Oh, I didn't realise that carriers can't jump into permit lock systems at all. Okay, so that's the reason they're not in Seoul or anywhere else. Actually, okay, well, I suppose that's the quickest way of solving that problem, isn't it? You can't go there at all. It's as simple as that. Right, so there we go. A little bit of cash. Why not? Just in case my ship gets bashed up by silly antics. Right, so let me get back into space then. There we go. Let's head down to the end of. Oops, sorry about that. To the back end of the fleet carrier. I've just had a wing invitation. So let me sort that out. Okay. Wouldn't it be nice if we just had servers? But hey, I suppose we'd all have to be paying a subscription, wouldn't we? Right. Let's turn around again here. Right. So I've got 4 pips in engines and 2 pips in shields. How are we doing for time? We better get going. So how are people doing? How's the instance looking? There's quite a few people here. So what I'm going to suggest is if you can. I don't know how this is going to work. See if you can sort of form up in a bit of a line. Okay, we're going to sort of play tag around the fleet carrier, just because it's fun and it's Airwolf. Okay, so if those of you who are in my instance can sort of line up behind me, let's just do that from the outside because that's going to look quite amusing, and then we're going to sort of do a kind of cruise around the fleet carrier at full throttle, sort of. It does sound a bit like a conga, so this is going to be quite funny. Oh, I've just gone through somebody there. I think probably this anaconda here. There we go. Right, so we. This is like primary school when the teacher says form a line, and all the kids just mingle, push and shove around each other trying to get into a line. It's kind of looking wrong, isn't it? So it's not let's be honest, it's not the best line I've ever seen, but it's not the worst. It's an anaconda. So and then we'll do the hyperspace jump, but we'll just do that once the music's over because this is a bit different because it's Airwolf. Okay, Airwolf is yeah. So let's just try and what we'll try and do. It's looking quite good. So what we're going to do is, from my perspective on the screen here, let's a fixed speed. So I don't think my ship can do much more than about 240. So let's aim for. I think most ships should be able to handle 200. 200 meters per second is the speed. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to fly across the. I don't know if this is the top deck or the bottom deck. All right, of the fleet carrier. But we're going to fly across the top deck and then dive round. So we're kind of doing a loop, okay? All the time the music's running. Just try and stay in formation, okay? I hesitate to say we haven't tried this before. So this might go disastrously wrong. I don't know. I mean, maybe it should just be a race, okay? It's going to be a disaster. Yes, it probably is. Why don't we just go as fast as you fancy, okay? And just maneuver around everybody else. But it might be a good idea to have some shields up. What could possibly go wrong? I don't think we should have a speed limit, actually. I think let each ship do what it wants to do, okay? So basically, some of the ships are going to be faster than others. My Crate Phantom is not particularly set up for speed. So try, see how it goes, all right? We're going to fly across the surface here, round underneath, and just keep going around the loop as best we can, all right? To the Airwolf theme. And if you need to jig from side to side, then I think that's appropriate because it's Airwolf, okay? It's going to be the perfect piece of music to do this too. So are you ready? I'm going to fire up the music. So here, so someone can do 760. Wow, that's a fast ship. Let's see what happens. Are we ready for some Airwolf? Here we go. Let's hope my MIDI composition works. We're ready. We're all set. Wait for a moment. I'll keys it up. And boost. Try at the turn. Our ship is not very maneuverable. Oh, this one works. Oh, I just not like turning. Come on, ball. I can see lots of coloured lines, which is awesome. Whoops! Almost hit the fleet carrier. Hit somebody else. I can just see lines everywhere. Oh, I've lost my shields. Oh, I've got 90% health as well. to get some shields back up. There's absolute chaos, which is good. I like it. I'm not sure if everybody's going the same way around as I am. I'd love to know what this looks like from outside, actually, outside of the loop. It's good fun, though. It's good fun. Oh, I've got some shields up. Excellent. There we go. So I think we're near the end of the song. There we go. Let's do a roll. Oh dear, that was very silly. Is anybody dead? How many fines did they get? Look at the state of that. Oh dear, that was very, very cool. Oh, somebody's fixing up my ship for me. I do appreciate that. Brilliant. It has to be done. Airwolf. Airwolf is a classic piece of music, which just sort of suits that sort of flapping about and having a nightmare. So there we go. Right, so we should, of course, do. Yeah, so anybody 64% health, says Sidewinder 40. So apologies for any loss or damage to your vessel. But it was a good laugh. Dear. So yeah, so there we go. That's a bit of Airwolf. The danger zone from Top Gun. Now that's not a bad idea. I don't know how many people I hit, but there we go. Right, so we should finish up with a quick hyperspace jump. Where should we go to? Let's just go to wherever's nearby. So that's nice and easy. There we go. HR 684. And we'll just finish off with a nice hyperspace jump. We can probably play the music again to go out. Why not? There we go. I'm going to set a. There we are. Charge the. Fly towards HR 684. We graffitified the carrier. Let's head for HR 684 and we'll do the hyperspace jump out towards there. So you should be able to catch me up. Actually, I don't want to go too fast. There we go. So again, if you're in my instance, HR 684, you should be able to keep up with me. That's where I am. Where are you guys? Just getting out of the way of the fleet carrier. There we are. There's the crazy fleet of commanders catching up behind me with the fleet carrier in the background. So yeah, form up. We'll do the hyperspace jump as well, because we do. Right, we're all set to go. So I will start the music again. Right, here we go. Of course, whoever that was. Right, so what time is it? Actually, we'll do the hyperspace jump exactly at 2100 game time, okay? Airwolf is actually a really easy tune. It's just the same thing. You just keep copying and pasting it over and over again. It's really easy to write from a MIDI perspective. The bass line just keeps going on and on and on. It's a nice tune though. I love it. You can listen to it for hours. So we just hyperspace. Alright, so 2100 is time to throttle up. So I'm going to do this one with you this time, okay? So 15 seconds on my clock. So charge hyperspace, there we go. And throttle up in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now. Oh, it doesn't allow me to jump. Boom, there we go, right, we're jumping. I wish we could watch that from the outside, that'd be very cool. See how this, whee, there we go, we come out of space. There's loads of us here. Awesome. Da-da, da-da, da-da. There we go. There we go again. Ah, good stuff, good stuff. Right, my friends, it is time for me to depart, but thank you very much again for your company tonight. I do appreciate it. I hope you've had fun on the Astro tour. So that was the summer stars and the constellations of Cygnus, Aquila and Lyra, and as many stars as we could cram in, and a bit of MIDI shenanigans as well. So there we go. So we are back 2 weeks time for the Orion tour. We'll go around the stars of Orion, which of course is a winter constellation as opposed to the summer ones we've been doing tonight. So thank you very much again. Hope you've had fun. Look after yourselves. Have a fantastic weekend. Obviously be careful out there. It's a crazy world, but yeah, all good stuff. I will be back in a couple of weeks' time. I'll be back on Monday the 2nd, is it? For my normal other stream, and then obviously the Elite Dangerous one in 2 weeks' time, same place. So take care of yourselves, my friends. Be good. Look after yourselves, and right on, Commanders 07. Be good, and I'll see you soon.